Thank you very much. Dr. Alvin Hille, Governor of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Patrick Mark Wellington, the Ombudsman of Trinidad and Tobago. The Board and Management of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Dominic Stoddard, Financial Services Ombudsman. Representative of the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Representatives of the Association of Trinidad and Tobago Insurance Companies, specially invited guests, members of the media. Good morning. Of course, it's a pleasure for me to be here this morning representing the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. And of course, this is supposed to be a breakfast meeting, but for me it was only a meeting since I missed breakfast. But of course, the team is in pursuit of excellence. And to me, it simply means that excellence must always be pursued. And as I sat there and I listened to the report, and I must congratulate Mr. Stoddard on an excellent and comprehensive report, and I think he should be given a round of applause. But a number of things stood out to me in the report. Firstly, of course, the increase in the number of complaints coming to the Office of the Financial Services Ombudsman, and the increase in the number of days or the amount of time it takes on average to resolve those complaints. Nevertheless, I want to suggest that the Office of the Financial Services Ombudsman is doing as much as they can and doing reasonably well in terms of resolving those complaints. But of course, as we are here this morning, I think it's about two things: partnership and leadership. And I want to talk briefly about those two things because, of course, even as the Ombudsman presented his report, I recognize that in order for us to resolve complaints and ensure the rights of consumers and citizens accessing financial services, in order for those rights to be preserved, the responsibility is that of all of us, not just the Office of the Financial Services Ombudsman. The banks have a responsibility. Insurance companies also have a responsibility, and all 45 signatories to this institution, to this establishment, all have a responsibility to ensure that the level of service given to consumers and citizens in this country reaches the point of excellence. And I want to say as well that while we may pursue excellence, it is not necessarily a destination, but it's a journey. And therefore, there will always be room for improvement. So therefore, as we gather here this morning, hearing this report, observing the stats, and hearing the various speakers, let us all continue to pursue excellence and understand, firstly, it's about partnership and collaboration. We all have a part to play. I think it was mentioned by a previous speaker that there is always the need for institutions and financial organizations within this country to continue to ensure that those with the responsibility are well trained and well equipped to deliver excellent service. And even in times when there are disputes, because I think disputes and complaints is something that is inevitable, but we must ensure that we go the extra mile. And I always say, put yourself in the other person's shoe. If it were you trying to resolve a complaint, if it were you at the receiving end of the service that you are giving, will you be satisfied? Always ask yourself those questions. And finally, I think it's also about leadership. Because if you were to honestly introspect and evaluate the circumstances of our country, I think we all can agree that there is somewhat a leadership void. And of course, we tend to look at the senior representatives, especially those in the political circle, Prime Minister, President, Chief Justice, MPs, senators, etc. And we tend to believe that those are the only persons in society charged with the responsibility to lead honestly and effectively. And I want to suggest to us this morning that every single one of us are leaders in our own rights, whether we function as managers, whether we function as cleaners on the streets, or even the various students within our education system. All of us have the capacity and the responsibility to lead. And leadership simply requires us to always put our best foot forward, always serve each other with love, with respect, and with dignity. And last but not least, we must also always ensure, as the Bible rightly says, that we love our neighbors as ourselves. And that simply means whatever you want for yourself, the service that you want for yourself, ensure that you always give it to others. And I want to give us the assurance that as long as we do the necessary introspection, and as long as we continue to put our best foot forward and consider our neighbors, consider our brothers and sisters, just as we would consider ourselves, then in fact, we will be on our way along this journey as we pursue excellence. So once again, it was a pleasure, or it is a pleasure being here this morning to be part of this exercise, and I wish you an enjoyable day as we continue this breakfast meeting. Thank you very much.